Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Maverick News Channel. I thought that might be a light news day, and it turned out to be, well, it's turning out to be a pretty heavy news day as Ukraine, Russia continue to trade blows, Putin vowing to completely destroy, annihilate Kyiv. We'll tell you all about that, and we'll explain why Ukraine seems to be giving more than it's taking in this exchange, even though these blows have been devastating, and it could get a lot worse on both sides as things continue to escalate. And while all that's going on, we still have this, I would say, very unstable situation in the Middle East as Trump alludes to this idea of a peace deal with Iran saying, though, that it's a very fragile process and it's still unfolding. We'll bring you up to date. Also, the Pope tonight issuing a warning on AI, and it is significant. It is, I think, the most elaborate and detailed, and I think the most leveraged statement from the church to date on artificial intelligence. Will certainly fill you in on that file as well. Property rights in Canada, that bubbling to the surface on Parliament Hill because of a Conservative motion to take action on that front because of the concerns about property rights in the face of First Nations land claims, especially out in British Columbia. But the vote not quite going the way that the Conservatives wanted it to, so we'll update you there. We've got that and so much more. I hardly know where to begin. There's so much news to share with you tonight. So stay with me. We're going to get into all of that. We'll maybe even talk a little bit about our rights under the law and all of that kind of coming off the tail end of what the Pope said today. So stick around because there's a whole lot of ground to cover.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
We are back, and we're going to start tonight. Oh, we're going to get into the separatism thing too, because there's a lot going on with regard to that story tonight too. But tonight, Russia is threatening a new campaign, which is actually underway even as we speak, of systematic strikes on Kyiv. This after one of the largest barrages, one of the biggest attacks involving, how many was it? A whole bunch of missiles, but 50, I believe, and about almost 600 drones over the weekend. We We confirmed that there was one Oreshnik hypersonic missile fired. Now it looks like there may have actually been two fired with, of course, multiple independent re-entry vehicles. It splits up and they're all able to target specific areas, but multiple warheads came down, raining on Kyiv, while people took shelter, and just severe damage all through the Kyiv itself and the surrounding area. It was pretty substantial. 4 people killed, and the Kremlin saying it's a response to Ukraine's attacks in recent days and weeks, which have been escalating, and it looks like Ukraine has been actually gaining some ground, which has surprised many, I think, especially over on the Russian side. So much footage coming out, and it is, to say the least, I'd say some of it is alarming. Is a word. Some people view this stuff, and because it's on a screen, I think it comes across as being not that impactful because it's so far away, and it seems like you're, in your mind, I think it's kind of like watching a movie, so it's almost entertainment, but it isn't. This is reality. It's affecting people's lives on both sides of the conflict. Here's footage of Ukraine intercepting a Russian cruise missile coming in. One more time. And as I indicated last night, the stockpile of Patriot missiles to intercept such things, I think, depleted. So they're resorting to other methods, and they got that one. Tonight also, Kaliningrad attacked with drones. That's what the reports say that are coming in. And on the Russian side, they're upset because they're saying that in order for the drones to reach, or a drone to reach Kaliningrad, it would have had to fly through NATO airspace, at least a NATO country at some point. And so it isn't really clear how this happened or how the drone got that far without it. I guess it had to go through maybe Poland. I'm not sure how it got there, but Russia highlighting that tonight, and that's also making the rounds on social media. As a result of all of this, Lavrov has called Rubio apparently to tell him that Russia is planning a series of systematic strikes on Kyiv, and as a result of that, they have issued a warning, an order to people, I think any foreign citizens in Kyiv, or anybody that's there visiting or whatever, to get out of there because these heavy-duty attacks are still ongoing and likely to intensify in the hours ahead. So we're continuing to watch very closely tonight. And here's another post about the attacks deep inside Russia, because Ukraine has improved its drone technology so much that they're now striking deep inside Russian territory, striking mostly oil infrastructure, energy infrastructure, stuff to damage the economy. Says Kaliningrad under drone attack. This from Jurgen Naudet. For the first time since the start of the war, an aerial threat posed by drones has been declared in the Russian city of Kaliningrad. many pundits, analysts out there saying the tide seems to be turning in this war. And this is all happening while the Russians have launched what they're calling a summer offensive. And it looks like Ukraine is not only holding its own, but fortifying positions, which will, I think, potentially allow them to launch new attacks in new ways. And one of the ways that they are being impactful, and that word I'm using intentionally because look at the impact that they're having here with these drone strikes. They have been striking inside Russian territory, taking out logistics lines, trucks, transports, bringing supplies to Russian troops on the front lines, taking them right out. Look at this. This is, of course, propaganda video, but these are recent attacks on one of the main highways stretching into Ukraine. Crimea is one of the alternate routes they could go through, but this is having real impact on the Russian abilities to continue to wage this war. And as you're seeing, it's causing disruption on the highways. We have other footage as well to confirm what it is I'm talking about here. A little slow on the draw getting this one up. Here we go. I've got the tab. And on one of the main arteries where the transport lines run, they've issued orders apparently for a lot of civilian vehicles to stay off the highway. And that is concerning some of the transport truck drivers, military vehicles, saying that makes that they're not happy because it makes it easier to identify the military vehicles transporting military supplies to the front lines, because if there are no other vehicles on the highway, the Ukrainians basically can attack anything, and if they have this information, they can just attack anything on the highway because they know that it is all military related. So not much fear of killing any civilians. And here's some of this footage with these Russians driving down this highway, and you'll see the damage. Just take the radio sound down so we don't get a copyright strike on anything, but you can see that they're just pushing the wrecked, destroyed trucks off to the side. It is serious. And it does mark, I think, a turning point in the conflict. And here's, again, I would say this is something of a propaganda video from the Ukrainians, but it highlights exactly what I'm talking about here. This is just showcasing their recent efforts to take out supply trucks. I'm taking the music down again so we don't get a copyright strike. And you can see what they're doing here. They're targeting the supply lines. And for those of you just listening on the podcast, we're showing an animated map here right now. And aerial footage again of drones coming in and taking out vehicles on the highways. This has been, I think, it has become the very first drone war, a prelude a deadly prelude of things to come in the future. You're seeing it unfold in real time here. It makes me wonder if all these big, fancy, expensive weapons, these fifth generation fighters, sixth generation about to come online, how useful will they actually be in the future? Because the strategies are changing. They need to change because you have these aerial drones and also ground drones. And then you have the emergence of artificial intelligence, even predictive AI, which is being used by the military. We know this as a fact. AI able to predict the future. I don't know that it's clairvoyant. I think it's probably just using logic combined with pattern recognition and a wealth of historical knowledge and military strategy to figure out what is most likely to happen next. And the further you go out into the future, the more random elements would be there. But human beings are capable of predicting the future too, to a degree, right? If you know that if something happens, something is going to happen in the future, right? If my wife tells me to take out the garbage and I say no, I know that probably what's going to happen. Because I know what my job is. Let's take a break on that note, and I'll come back on the other side.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so what's going on with this whole thing in Iran? I don't know. I can't follow it. It's up, it's down, it's all around. I've got the map up. Okay, so let's go there first. This is the live map of what's happening in the Middle East, Strait of Hormuz tonight. Here we go, rock and roll. I need my tab back. There we are. So we know from this that an Al Jazeera correspondent, Ali Hashem, says an Iranian source claimed heavy gunfire heard near Bandar Abbas began after the IRGC targeted a vessel at sea, followed by U.S. fighter jets striking IRGC naval boats. Does this sound like a peace deal? Several IRGC personnel were killed, the source added, and that was an hour ago, 2 hours ago. Iran has warned Washington that any Israeli strikes on Beirut or its southern suburbs would seriously jeopardize ongoing efforts to end the war and could derail the diplomatic track altogether. And Trump's like, oh, it's this deal's pretty much negotiated, and I still see people shooting at each other and firing missiles and blowing things up and people being killed. But hey, he's the president of the peace president, right? Al Jazeera. Qatari mediation resulted in an agreement between the United States and Iran regarding Tehran's frozen assets. So, yeah, there has been, I guess, negotiation. Iran is confirming that. But let's get the most up-to-date info on this. Here we go. So we've got the top negotiators for Iran arriving in Qatar. All this while the U.S. is conducting strikes on Iran's Gulf Coast, and Iranian officials went to Doha today for these negotiations. And then the U.S. military announced strikes, it said, were into self-defense to protect troops. All that just happened like just hours after the Iranian negotiators arrived. That's been kind of Donald Trump's playbook. You know, sucker punches. I said it before. He's been sucker punching. Fakes them out, says, "Oh yeah, let's talk peace. We've got a peace deal," and then that's how the war kicked off. They had apparently, he said they were very close to a deal, and then they bombed them. So I don't know how you expect the Iranians to trust Donald Trump. I don't know how anybody can trust Donald Trump at this point, because you can't. You can't. Whether it's trade negotiations or peace negotiations, if you're dealing with him, you're dealing with an unpredictable, psychotic president. There's something wrong. This behavior makes it very difficult, I think, to actually achieve peace. Does he even really want peace, or is it just lip service at this point? I have to wonder. Certainly the rich oil companies, the oligarchs there who surround Donald Trump, they're making bank. They're profiting from all of this. Produce less, make more, because the price of oil remains high because of all the disruption in the Gulf. No. You can't take anything that is going on with this current administration at face value. What are stated goals are not always stated goals. What appears to be true may not be true. And what he's doing over here really is about something going on over there. Let me take a short break. I'm going to get something else queued up here. I shall return on the other side of this.
Maverick News. Expose lies and tell truth. The world is watching.
So, yeah, still on the Iran file. President Trump is describing these negotiations as advancing. He says both sides are working on a memorandum of understanding. Key elements under discussion apparently include reopening the Strait of Hormuz, strategic, vital. 20% of the world's oil supply flows through there. As we know, it's currently restricted because of mines and this blockade on a blockade. Some U.S. sanctions have been lifted and are talking about doing that and addressing Iran's nuclear program. That's key to the whole thing, including its stockpile of highly enriched uranium, which Donald Trump is demanding that I think he's saying it has to be destroyed or confiscated, and that's got to be part of the deal. He says that he's not rushing this thing now, even though he said that it was largely negotiated. It appeared to be imminent, and that doesn't seem to be the case again still even tonight as the attacks continue In the face of what was supposed to be a new round of peace talks, Iranian officials acknowledged convergence on several points to extend the fragile ceasefire and end hostilities on all fronts, including related fighting involving Israel and Lebanon, but no missiles still being launched. The fighting continues. Iran's foreign ministry says no signing is expected soon. That's coming directly from them tonight. And sticking points are still, they still remain on nuclear commitments and broader sanctions relief. Also, I'd forgotten to cue this up, but maybe I can find it for you. 60 Minutes conducted an investigation, 60 Minutes television news magazine program, investigative journalism. And I saw tonight, prior to just coming on the air, that they have determined that, strangely, in spite of the blockade on the blockade, some Iranian tankers are still getting out, getting past the blockade, and in fact may have been exporting more oil than they were exporting before the war began. Let me see if I can find the post here. Here it is right here. This blew my mind. And it really throws everything Trump says again into question for me. What can you believe? So 60 Minutes has confirmed that Iran is bypassing the U.S. blockade and exporting 100,000 more barrels of oil per day than before the war, most of it reportedly going to China. I guess they're able to do this, so they've figured out how to do this by turning off the locating transponders on these ships. Here we go.
And this past week, Smith and his team made a surprising discovery that Iran has exported daily 100,000 more barrels of oil than it did before the war, most of it going to China. Smith says 9 Iranian oil tankers have traveled through the Strait of Hormuz by turning off transponders that reveal locations. Thursday, on Iran State TV, the first public statement from the country's new supreme leader was read, saying, quote, "The leverage of blocking the Strait of Hormuz must continue."
Again, this is so strange to me. I'm wondering what's really going on over there. We've not been able to see much in the way at all of actual damage inflicted on Iran. The Trump administration has asked surveillance companies, private military contractors that control the satellites and provide satellite imagery, to not share that with the media or the public in any way. So they've gone dark in that way. So it's really, really, like, often media will get a hold of that kind of footage or photos, satellite photos, by paying a fee to private companies that provide that kind of military surveillance and intelligence, but it has been very limited. So there has been a little bit that has come out to confirm some attacks to some degree, but no, mostly it's all dark. You can't see anything that's going on. I understand why that maybe is being done. It's because the United States, for strategic reasons, for safety reasons, they don't want a lot of that information getting out, perhaps. But I think that there might be something political behind it, because it is very, very dark, and especially for a war that is being conducted on this scale. I think it's very strange. We don't see very much. Remember when the attacks were happening off the coast of Venezuela? They were releasing the footage of the boats they were blowing up. They wanted you to see it. But don't let your mind get twisted, or don't just assess based on what you are being shown. You also have to consider what you are not being shown. And right now, we don't know really what's going on in there. So I am skeptical about all of this. I'm holding back before making too many assessments on anything. As you may have noticed, even all of these statements coming from the White House as Trump sits there and says, "Oh, we have peace at hand, a new peace deal." It's like every week, almost like clockwork, around Friday, he'll make an announcement like that. And that, of course, has a direct impact on the stock market, on oil prices. And then we've seen actual credible reports pointing to the stats, to the data showing big trades happening around those times. Purchases and selling of oil futures and other things like military stocks, all of that stuff. If you information is power, and if you know when something is going to be said, just by speaking, Donald Trump affects what happens on the markets, because people respond with what they do with their money. If they think there's going to be peace, the market goes one way. If they think there's going to be war, it goes the other way, because they know that the price will be affected because of supply and demand. Adam Smith, invisible hand, father of modern economics. It's not something he made up. It's something he observed. It's like a natural law. Oh, man, I wish more people understood things like that. We'll have another clip here from the 60 Minutes report, I think. No, actually, I think it's the same. It is. So we will let that slide. Can you believe that, though? Like, now that information is out, and I didn't see it on the weekend, 60 Minutes runs on the weekends, that's humiliating. Humiliating for the president. And it shows that he's lying. He's lying. Because just yesterday, I saw the clip of Trump sitting there saying, "Oh, we have complete control of the strait because we have the blockade." No, they don't. No, they don't. And I take no joy in telling you that, but they don't. Obviously. Just makes me wonder, because Trump, the alliances have shifted, and this is not conspiratorial. He clearly has more affinity for Putin than he does for Zelensky. He doesn't want any European influence over here, and he's withdrawing support for European countries over there. Traditional allies, everything is shifting. He doesn't want Canada trading with China at all, but he's over there making deals, shaking hands, and saying that he's great friends with Xi Jinping. Doesn't seem to be beating up Xi Jinping. He looked like small and humiliated there too, like he was bending the knee. That's what it looks like. Speaking of oil, back to Kanakistan, Canada, Alberta land, the separatist controversy swirling, escalating on the Canadian front as some people were preparing to break up the country. And something happened that came to my attention overnight that, for me, highlighted something I've been trying to tell everybody that nobody's picking up on. This is about the oil, largely. It's about more than that. It's that the Americans want the oil, and they have their operatives here in Canada, clearly, those who are, I think, pretty much in favor of a 51st state, even though they claim to just want an independent, sovereign Alberta. So I've been saying that for a long time. It's not as simple as Ottawa blocking pipelines. It's not as simple as the government of Canada not approving pipelines. They're blaming it all on the Liberals. There's a lot of politics being played, a lot of games. There are many, many layers to this. There are many reasons and many people who have been standing in the way of the development of a pipeline. And I'll tell you, let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you, and you don't have to believe me, but look at you'd pay attention to the language and what I am about to share with you from separatist lawyer Jeffrey Rath and from what he actually posted. I've been telling everybody there are U.S. oil interests, U.S. government interests potentially on the MAGA side. There are business interests in the United States that do not want a pipeline built from Alberta to the west coast of British Columbia. And on the MAGA side, definitely they don't want that pipeline built, as I've said many times, because they don't want that oil flowing to China. They don't want it flowing to Asia. Two reasons. First of all, they're paranoid. They've convinced themselves that China is the second coming of Satan or something. So they don't want it. They don't, except that it's not true because Trump's over there trying to do big business with them. But the truth of the matter is the other reason is they don't want competition. They don't want that pipeline built to the West Coast because it will give Alberta a second market for the oil. Right now, almost all of the oil produced in Alberta flows south to the United States. They want to keep it that way. And that oil, because it's only available to a single market, it is sold at a discount versus the world price for oil. So Alberta has to sell it to a discount because they've only got one customer. There's no competition. That means that largely Alberta is a price taker, that they're not able to set their price based on the value of oil globally. You build the pipeline to the coast, the Chinese have already said they'll take all the oil that Alberta can send, all of the energy. So there's a huge market to be had over there, not just China, but all of Asia. And there's a delivery advantage if it comes off the West Coast by many, many days. I think it's like a week or something shorter. Anyway, maybe an 8-day advantage, something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but there's a speed factor in there. So, of course, then your ships are burning less fuel to deliver it. Time is money. They can deliver it to market faster, and that makes a difference. Well, overnight, separatist lawyer Jeffrey Rath upset with Danielle Smith, the premier of Alberta, because he's accusing her of making a deal with Prime Minister Carney. He says that she promised the prime minister there won't be a referendum this year, and that she did it in exchange for a pipeline deal. He doesn't want a pipeline built. This whole separatism thing has been built around the grievance of you don't want any, Ottawa doesn't want any pipelines built. I'm not making this up. He just said the quiet part out loud. A lot of the things that we see and that we are told, it's not true. A lot of it is the opposite. So you see, it serves the separatists to have not had a pipeline built, because that gives them something to complain and whine about. Not only that, but if you are beholden to MAGA and Trump and the MAGA camp and the oligarchs surrounding Trump, if they don't want the oil being made available to the Asian market and to China, then you don't want that pipeline built to the West Coast either, even though it would be good for Alberta. Because who's offering $500 billion as a line of credit They've been talking about it openly. They're not even hiding it anymore. We're told that they met with people from the State Department. So the Trump administration, I guess somebody in government or within the MAGA party, foreign money being offered straight up $500 billion, $500 billion a loan to the separatists. It's all out there. We've shown you before. Let me show you what Rath posted on social media. You think I'm making it up? No, I'm not lying. Blew my mind that he even said it, because I don't think he understands I'd say incriminating, but we'll say revealing. Okay, we'll go with revealing, because incriminating might imply that there's something illegal about this. I don't know if it's illegal or not, but I don't know. Ethical is another word that I think is maybe that pops into my head. He says here, this is a letter from Jeff Rath to the premier. He posted this. This was posted online overnight. A referendum, to have a referendum, which is what we've got now out in Alberta. It's not a referendum to decide to separate. It's a referendum on whether they should have a referendum, which I don't even think that is justified or even legitimate because of the way these petitions were handled. But anyway, after he's upset. A lot of the separatists, in fact, new polling tonight shows that 50% plus of Albertans want the premier to resign tonight. That is what's one of the headlines I'm seeing. A referendum, to have a referendum, he says in this letter to the premier, after two justices told you could call Mitch Sylvester's question under Section 1 of the Referendum Act is hardly decisive or honest leadership. That separatist petition could have been fabricated. We don't even know it. Certainly hasn't been verified by Elections Alberta, which it would have had to. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He just wanted the premier to just do it, to make a unilateral one-person decision. He goes on and says, on Thursday, you lied to everyone in Alberta when you falsely claimed you couldn't use either Lukasik's question or Mitch's question from the separatist petition because of the courts. The courts, in fact, said the opposite. He says, Chief Alan Adam had his picture taken signing the Lukasik petition. How would he oppose that question? The simple fact is that you promised Mark Carney that there wouldn't be a vote on independence this year. And see, the Remain in Canada petition, they wanted a vote in the legislature. They didn't really want a referendum. But because of the way it was worded in the petition, the premier has latched onto that as a reason why she's pushing ahead. But she knows darn well that the 400,000 plus people who signed that really didn't want this to happen. They wanted the opposite. They wanted to stop this. Maybe some of them didn't, but the vast majority clearly didn't. And the organizer of the whole thing, Lukasik, he's made it pretty clear. He says, the simple fact that you promised Mark Carney that there wouldn't be a vote on independence this year, because he says they have, well, I'll play the clip in a moment, by stabbing 301,620 of your voters in the back. These are the separatists who signed the pro-referendum petition. You delivered on the promise as part of the package to sell out Alberta for, here's the key for me, sell out Alberta for a Chinese pipeline to Asia. No binary choice for Albertans, as you promised, only political sleight of hand. You've lost the ability to refer to yourself as right honorable. You've lost the moral authority to lead the UCP. Jeffrey Rath still doesn't want a pipeline built to the West Coast. One of the key issues in the whole darn thing. That's why people have been so upset. You've got to get a pipeline built, just on and on and on. And it's been BC sucks and David Eby is standing in our way and blah, 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 blah. It's all about, Canada can't get a pipeline built to the West Coast. That's been, I'd say, the number one issue out of this whole thing. Meanwhile, Carney, with Danielle Smith, getting final approval for a pipeline to be built, another one from Alberta into the United States. So that's proceeding. Although on the separatist side, we keep hearing that no new pipelines being built, and yet Rath acknowledges that this is happening tonight. Well, at the same time saying a pipeline to the West Coast doesn't matter to him. So what is it? Which is it? I'll tell you what it is. It's exactly what I told everybody. Some people have been working sort of behind the scenes in the shadows, working against having Alberta build a pipeline to the West Coast. People who you would think would be in favor of it have been working against it. Tonight, he's saying he doesn't want it. That's the way I interpret it. The whole damn thing is upside down. Now, here's Jeffrey Rath on the pro-ostrich conspiracy channel. I don't know if they make any references to ostriches being liquefied. But here's one of the top ostrich reporters in Canada getting, the credible information from Jeffrey Rath tonight. Unbelievable. I can't even believe I'm playing this.
I'll let you explain it. You believe that this is about Danielle, not just suggesting there's another alternative here, but that she's deliberately doing this to appease Mark Carney.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually had a contact that was in the room with her and Carney, and we're told by our source that was there that she absolutely promised Mark Carney that there would not be a referendum this year on independence. So wow. I think this is just her keeping her promise, right? So she's done it again. She's now crossed the floor for the second time. This time now she's crossed the floor to join the Carney Liberals. I mean, don't think that it was missed on anybody that she just went, oh, Mark Carney's so this and he's so that, and I love him so much, and Mark Carney's such a nice man, and everybody, he's not Justin Trudeau, oh, Mark Carney, Mark, right? And of course, ignoring the fact that, Carney has tried to pass a bill to create backdoors into all of our electronic devices to surveil us in real time, right? Pass bills to make it illegal for preachers to read the Bible in church, won't lift the West Coast tanker ban, won't,
Okay, that's just an outright freaking lie. Okay, there's no law that prevents pastors from reading the Bible in church. That is a giant load of that is just a lie. Happens all the time, every day. They're still reading the Bible in church, okay? Wake the hell up. Like, if you believe this shit, oh my God. You keep going there, Jeffrey.
The fact that, Carney has tried to pass a bill to create backdoors into all of our electronic devices to surveil us in real time, right? Pass bills to make it illegal for preachers to read the Bible in church, won't lift the West Coast tanker ban, won't accord basic respect to Alberta, telling Albertans that, in order to have a West Coast pipeline, which incidentally we don't need right now because of the Bridger expansion and the Enbridge expansion, that's 1.5 million barrels of new capacity, right? Once that's online, given all of Carney's regressive policies, we won't have enough oil to fill a West Coast pipeline. And of course,
yeah, we don't need it. We'll just keep sending it to the States. See, that's all we got to do. Our great U.S. oil companies, we'll just keep sending it down there. We got a new pipeline coming. Oh, where did that come from? How did that happen? I thought there were no new pipelines coming online. I thought there wasn't any additional capacity. What? Are you starting to clue in? Oh, say, can you see what's going on?
The Enbridge expansion, that's 1 million, in order to have a West Coast pipeline, which incidentally we don't need.
Don't need it. Don't need a West Coast pipeline. No, you've only been getting people so jacked up, so upset that they want to destroy the country over a stupid pipeline that you don't even want. You say we don't need it. You don't need it. Then what are you complaining about? problems are solved. You got your pipeline to the States. They're going to take more oil than we can produce. Back to the ostrich liquefaction channel.
Right now, because of the Bridger expansion and the Enbridge expansion, that's 1.5 million barrels of new capacity, right? Once that's online, given all of Carney's regressive policies, we won't have enough oil to fill a West Coast pipeline. And of course, Danny doesn't want to talk about that. So she's literally sold out everybody in Alberta for a completely unnecessary pipeline. And it's just, it just boggles the mind.
He boggles my mind, all right. It's a completely unnecessary pipeline. His words. It's a completely unnecessary pipeline. But boy, they've sure been upset about it, haven't they? What about you? Are you upset? Unbelievable.
We are the Mavericks. Welcome to the Matrix, baby. Hope you like the view. We are the Mavericks. The world is watching. We are the Mavericks.
Still in Canada. Let's talk separatism a little bit more, shall we? Earlier today, the Prime Minister in Ottawa, in the suburb of Orleans, making an announcement on housing. I'll start with that because that's one of the other main issues grieving some people out west and people across the country, especially on the immigration issue, because housing prices affected so dramatically by that. And so he has been promising to have more houses built. And today, indeed, in Ottawa, he came out and started talking about this project where some new homes are being built.
We cut the GST and the HST on housing for all home buyers. We came together at this agreement, Premier Ford and I, to cut development charges in half. So what does that mean? It means up to $158,000 of reduced costs for housing here in Ottawa. Since that time, and part of the reason we're here is to see the good work of EQ Homes, but since that time, this company, this development, has seen sales go up by 65%. Gives a sense of both the demand for affordable housing, but also the impact of these measures. En même temps, nous avons lancé en septembre Maison Canada.
Take that down because he continues later. That was the announcement. It's not a huge housing project, but it does highlight that progress is being made, and there are many, 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 many more houses that are being built, will be built under this project, this plan, which he touched on there. But this is just one project, and I think he probably went there because it's in Ottawa, and you happen to be in town, being the capital. Anyway, the thing that's really making the headlines, though, is these comments that he made after his housing announcement today on the issue of Alberta separatism. And some people's minds are blowing up.
Very much.
Hi, Prime Minister. Tom Parry with CBC. Can I ask you, when you met with Danielle Smith, Premier Smith, in Calgary, did you try to persuade her not to put a question of separation to Alberta voters in October? And I guess if I could ask as a second part, now that there is this question in place, how much uncertainty does it create for investors who want to put money into a pipeline or any other kind of project in Alberta?
Look, it's, I mean, the Premier has proposed this, the question and other questions with it. As I said earlier, Tom, we will look at, we will discharge our responsibilities, look at consistency of the question about a question, if I can put it that way, on separation, our consistency of that with the Clarity Act. So it is what it is. It's there. We have to discharge our responsibilities. As I said, look, the Premier doesn't always take my advice. But can I finish my, please? Look, is it helpful to ask these fundamental questions? No, it's not helpful. Of course it's not. Is it the democratic will of Albertans? Did they vote for this in the last provincial election? No, they didn't. It wasn't on the ballot paper. It wasn't in the mandates of or platforms of any of or of the governing party and the official opposition. It is what it is. It's. I'll repeat that. The core approach here and reality is positive. There's tremendous strengths that Canada brings to Alberta and Alberta brings to Canada. We are absolutely stronger together. We're better together. We're better people. We're wealthier together. My colleague Corey Hogan points out rightly that median wealth in Canada is 23% higher than the United States. It's not something people would think, but why is that the case? It's because we take care of each other. It's because we focus on things like affordability, because the people who live here will get childcare. The people who live here will get health care. The people who live here will get high quality education for their kids. If they're retiring here, they'll get OAS and GIS because Canadians take care of each other. It's not perfect. Can it get better? Do we need to continue to work together as provinces and federal governments? Absolutely. Are we making progress? The Alberta Accord is one of many examples. You'll see many, many more. What Minister Robertson is doing with Build Canada Homes is in concert with the provinces. $158,000 off homes. That is because of work between the federal government, province of Ontario. Similar things are going to happen across this country. One of many, many examples of how we're stronger together at a time when the world is under enormous, enormous pressure. And, I'll finish with this, which is that you look around the world. I travel around the world. I see, and the world is in pain. Most countries don't think that they're headed in the right direction. Canada, with all our imperfections, challenges, Canadians think we are headed in the right direction. And part of the reason why they think they're in the right direction, we're headed in the right direction, is because we're Canadian, because we know we'll come together and we'll work to find a better way. And I'm committed, my government's committed to continue to do so. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
And that's that. So that just set off, a flurry of responses over on the Hill, the Ostrich Channel. Entertainment, not news. Alberta separatism. Here we have reaction from members of Parliament. And away we go.
Chair, what do you make of the Alberta referendum? Should Parliament have a say in this?
Well, the Alberta referendum is going to be a referendum held for Albertans, and the Premier's made her position very clear on that. The sooner this is over with, the better, because frankly, it's going to go one way. We all know which way it's going to go. So get this thing done and over with. It's just a question of whether there should be a referendum, and I know where the majority of my constituents lie on it. So frankly, get it over and done with. and move on with the things we need to fix in order to make this whole country work a lot better.
Are you worried about a private sector proponent possibly stepping forward if they want to build a pipeline when there's this question of whether Alberta is going to be a part of Canada? Are you worried about the Prime Minister's ability to track someone or the Premier's ability to track someone for that project?
Well, it's a peripheral question at the end of the day. What we're talking about right now, first of all, is a referendum and just getting over the potential uncertainty that might come from that. We actually haven't seen that uncertainty as far as business investment goes to this point in time. But no matter what, you've got to get a pipeline built to the coast. And making that path as clear as possible for Albertans and for the proponents that are going to actually build that is something this government has to do a lot better at than it's done so far.
Why do you think we've seen Western alienation sentiment flare up in recent months? What do you attribute that to?
I wouldn't say it's recent months. I say it's accumulated over the last decade and a bit. And that's just a matter about the role each government plays in our confederal arrangements here, our Constitution. So if you actually put it forth to people that effectively which government should be in which lane here, and let's make it more clear, make sure that we understand what those rules of confederation are and how each government fulfills their roles effectively, I think people will be a lot happier.
Why is this something you're suggesting Alberta needs to get over sooner rather than later on this referendum question?
Well, like I say, the question isn't actually a referendum question. The question is whether we should have a referendum.
Yeah, sure.
So whether we should have a referendum, okay, most people are going to say no, we don't. We need to fix things here at this level. The Premier's got her own jobs to do, but there's a lot of things to do in Confederation. We want to make sure we get back to the issues on our agenda that are actually going to make a difference for Canadians.
How do you know most people are going to say no then?
Well, I've seen the polls, but I also know door to door. As door to door in a neighborhood in Calgary on the weekend, I guarantee you it's like, let's get over with that. We all know how we're going to vote.
Why won't you vote?
I think it's quite clear.
Why are you voting now? What are the reasons that are driving that?
Why am I voting?
Yeah, no, I guess keeping Canada together. Why are you voting now?
Well, I think when you come to this house, you better serve the country here. This is our job, to serve our constituents and build a better Canada going forward. Thank you for the question.
What do you think about some of your colleagues in Alberta that represent rural constituencies? We asked them about, should Parliament have a say in the referendum or anything like that, and they're just absolute silence. Versus
you'll have to ask them. Right?
Do you think Ms. Smith was right to pose that question?
In your province?
Yeah. I think we need to have the referendum. When 700,000 Albertans write in, 300,000 for the separation side, 400,000 for the stay side, I think that it demands the action of democracy. And I think until we address it, it will be like an itch that is not scratched, like an irritant. And I, for one, would personally like to put this behind us so that we can move forward as a province, one way or another. Of course, I will be campaigning for the Remain side, and I would urge my fellow Albertans to do the same, but I do feel we need to address this.
Do you think what the Premier has put in motion is addressing it? Because it's, as you know, it's not the referendum on the question, it's like a referendum on a referendum. So do you think the process the Premier has put in motion addresses it in the way that you're kind of talking about trying to see it addressed?
I actually think it's a very good solution because it leaves the door open for the actual referendum question, but is not the referendum question itself. So I feel as though it provides a medium and a path to resolution.
Why are you voting to remain in Canada? What's driving your sentimental feelings behind that?
Well, it's my love behind the nation. Of course, Alberta has been a province of the Confederation since 1905. And I think that Canada works better with Alberta within it. We contribute a lot in terms of our natural resources, etc. But I also think that Alberta is better economically and for a strong Alberta to remain in Canada.
Vous pensez que c'est une bonne idée ce référendum en français?
Oui, je pense que c'est vraiment une bonne idée parce qu'il y avait 700 000 personnes qui ont décidé que c'était assez important d'inscrire le nom sur une pétition pour avoir le...
Okay, let's get back to English, so shall we? Here we go.
Ça va être irritant pour la province et aussi ça va rester avec nous comme un problème devant nous et je pense que nous devons faire quelque chose pour résoudre le problème.
Are there separatists in the Alberta caucus? Are there separatists in the Alberta caucus?
None that have revealed themselves to me. We are all firmly behind our leader Pierre Poilievre in supporting the referendum and the stay in Canada.
What do you make of the Prime Minister's move? What do you make of the Prime Minister calling it a dangerous
I had not heard that he had referred to it as this. I'll have to give that some consideration. Excuse me, I'm late for question period. Thank you for your time. Merci beaucoup. À bientôt.
For coming back to scrum with us.
It's great to be here.
Anonymously to the Prime Minister's office regarding the rollback of environmental policies. Do you think that they should be speaking publicly about this?
Well, the Prime Minister said at the border tray to the Canadian public that if you don't have anything, sorry, let me rephrase that. The Prime Minister said at the border tray to the Canadian public that he doesn't want to hear from you if you're against his viewpoint. So for the Liberal backbench MPs, including cabinet ministers, what do you think will happen to them if they said publicly that they're opposed to Carney's agenda of dismantling the environment, of sidelining Indigenous rights, of threatening provinces and people who have a different point of view, of gaslighting environmental groups who's been demanding and calling for climate initiatives? And so is it a wonder that they would actually do this anonymously? This is the approach that Carney has taken, frankly. It's not democracy. It is a authoritarian approach in Canada. This is what's happening. He's basically sending a clear message to Canadians and to his caucus that I don't want to hear from you unless if you agree with me.
But shouldn't they just resign and stay as independents? I mean, what'd you make of the decision to stay within the Liberal caucus, given everything that's transpired?
Well, the first step that people will go through in a situation where there are disagreements or grievances is to raise these issues. They should not be afraid to speak publicly and speak truth to power. We are parliamentarians. We are elected by our constituents to represent their point of view and not just to toe the line of what the Prime Minister tells you what you can and cannot say and what you can and cannot think. And so this is what's happening right now. So the first approach would be to raise these issues and to say it publicly and not be afraid to do so. We saw this with Stephen Guilbeault. I think that is the reason why he resigned. He had no place, I think, in that cabinet to offer a different point of view, to raise climate issues and concerns. Right now, what is Carney doing? He is dismantling all the climate initiatives, all the major pillars that was promised and that Canada signed into during the Paris Agreement. And so right now, we are in a climate emergency. I am from British Columbia. We have experienced forest fires ongoing. Experts are now saying this will be the fourth consecutive year of extensive forest fires. This is what we can anticipate. And right now, what Carney is doing is turning his back on the environment, on the climate emergency. This from a guy who was the UN envoy for climate.
Have you heard from any Liberal caucus members regarding their concerns about, the rollback of these environmental policies?
We've just come back from a 2-week break, and so there are whispers, right? And people rightfully should be concerned. Canadians are concerned. I've been hearing from my constituents who are deeply concerned about what's going on. I've been hearing from Indigenous leaders who are deeply concerned, who has been deeply concerned, who are the defenders of Mother Earth. And right now, they're all being sidelined.
Would you say the Liberal caucus is divided?
I think that the Liberal caucus, particularly those who hold more progressive views, who has traditionally been aligned on the climate emergency concerns and wanting to advance that agenda in addressing it, are absolutely feeling extremely uncomfortable within this caucus. What's clear as day is that Carney is not a Liberal. Frankly, he is operating like a conservative, and I would argue that he's gone further than what Stephen Harper would have dared when he was the Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, let me recue, because the main comments of note on the opposition side came from Michelle Rempel-Garner, conservative inside the building.
Morning. This year, the official opposition selected the Minister of Immigration to be held to account as part of Parliament's scrutiny of the government's financial plans. This process, which is referred to as the Committee of the Whole, is scheduled for Thursday night and would see the Minister be questioned by MPs. The Minister of Finance has committed to showing up for his full session, but to date, Lina Diab has not confirmed that she will attend or will attend the full 4 hours as she's required to do. So everyone knows that Lina Diab will eventually have to be fired because of her incompetence, but if she's so bad that the Prime Minister's office doesn't think that she can be questioned about her department's work, as is required by parliamentary procedure, then the Prime Minister needs to immediately fire her and replace her with someone who will. It's absolutely mind-boggling that the person in charge of one of the most critical files of the federal government, who gets paid $300,000 and has a taxpayer-funded driver, can't be bothered to show up for work. It's an embarrassing stain on the Prime Minister's reputation that he's getting away with this. And I of stories on, the immigration dumpster fire. I'm looking at non-citizens who have been given lenient sentences so that they can avoid deportation, mass uncovering of basically malpractice within her department. The terrorists are still here, limited removals, questionable guidance being issued out of an agency that she's responsible for. So she needs to show up for work. And so we're calling on her to do that. And if the minister won't show up for work on Thursday, seriously, the finance minister is showing up. Why can't she? I know she's terrible. But at this point, if a minister can't show up to answer questions in the House, given her track record, the Prime Minister needs to fire her. He needs to fire her anyways, but before Thursday would be nice. The other thing that I want to, as an Alberta MP, make a comment on is the Prime Minister's comments this morning. I just want to say this. The Prime Minister and the Liberals, they need some humility at this moment. The reality is that there is a lot of frustration in Alberta after 10 years of Liberal policy that essentially shut down the energy sector's growth and stymied a lot of projects. I want to be very clear, it was the Prime Minister who started an international banking alliance that shut down Alberta oil and gas. He has no right to wag his finger. That makes it worse, and he shouldn't be doing what he did this morning. Also, arguably, he screwed up on Brexit. He came out as part of Project Fear, and it backfired. I would strongly caution him from doing that again, and the tone that he gave this morning was not responsible in that regard. What we need to do right now is that the Liberals need to project hope, not fear. And to do that, they have to start addressing some of the deep and real frustrations of the people of my province. I want to be very clear. Some of the most patriotic Canadians I know are frustrated Albertans. They know that a strong Alberta means a strong Canada, and a lot of people don't understand why the Liberals spent a decade stymieing our economy for no reason. That weakened our entire country, and we're seeing that right now, right? At a time when we could be producing record levels of energy to meet the world's needs at a time of crisis. A decade of Liberal policy not only cost the people of my province jobs and prosperity, it cost our entire country that prosperity. It cost our entire country energy security. But it's not just about energy security. It's not just about these bills, which they need to repeal. It's also about equity. I believe that a strong Canada is when we are united in equity. And the reality is it's not all okay right now. The federal Liberals have treated my province for a decade like an afterthought. I've had many, famous quotes about this in the House of Commons over the years, and I've wrote documents warning that this would happen if the Liberals didn't take action to show some hope for that equitable Canada. So what I'm calling on the Prime Minister to do is he has no right to wave his finger. There's one person who can unite the country right now, and one job it is, and it's Mark Carney's, but he can't just wag his finger. He has to project real action. Tell Albertans when a shovel is going to go in the ground for pipelines. to tell Albertans when he's going to repeal these bills that are preventing investment in upstream development for our resources sector. When is he going to repeal the gun grab that has irritated so many Albertans and more? I mean, even if you walk down the street to the National Art Gallery here, is there a display of Western heritage art? No. It's things like that. So rather than wagging his finger, what the Prime Minister needs to do is to project hope. Conservatives are going to project hope. For a decade, I have fought against these policies. We will continue to do that. And again, I just want to reiterate that part of that is having his immigration minister show up for work, mercifully. Thank you.
Talking about his phrase, dangerous bluff, is that what's bothering you, or just the whole tone this morning?
I think that and I'll let my colleague make some comments in a minute, just quickly before we, maybe PPH, if you want to do French
first. Thank you. Bonjour.
Enough. The Prime Minister mentioned Corey Hogan, his Liberal Party colleague. Interesting that Michelle Rempel-Garner went straight for the equity card. That's a very socialistic kind of progressive, woke term. I'd like a definition because people use it very loosely in a lot of ways. Words are important, and that one needs definition, even with regard to the way she's using it there. Here's Corey Hogan and his address on separatism.
Let's talk about Alberta separatism. In the last week, we've seen signatures submitted, data leaked, court decisions rendered, and much more than that. Unfortunately, it forces us to accept there's a very live conversation underway about the future of our province and our country. It's a conversation a lot of people would like to avoid. I would like to avoid it because the conversation itself is dangerous to our province. It tears at our social fabric. It scares capital, damages the economy. But the conversation is here, and more dangerous than the conversation is if the pro-separatist side is the only one active in the conversation. So let's be clear. All the polls show the vast majority of Albertans are patriotic Canadians who would oppose separatism. But we can't take that current state for granted, nor should we ever. Over the next few months, those of us who love this country are going to run into friends, co-workers, family, who have forgotten the case for Canada. Beyond them, we'll run into people who think a vote for separatism is a useful way to send a message. And we're going to have to decide what we do in that moment with very high stakes. For most of us, the pull of Canada is reflexive, makes its case daily. But civilization, it said, is a thin layer of remembered arguments, and the risk for any proposition that is universally accepted is that people stop rehearsing the reasons for it, which leaves society vulnerable when the claim is challenged. So let's remind ourselves of the case for Canada. A country with the second largest landmass on Earth, bordered by 3 oceans, rich in energy, agriculture, minerals, technology, talent, and democratic stability. We inherited market economies and personal freedom common across the Americas, and we have comfort with risk, mobility, individual ambition. We're wealthy. No Canadian's wealthier than Albertans. But we also inherited institutional restraint, social obligation, and procedural legitimacy from European political traditions. We are a measured people, and we've found prosperity and happiness in that measure. The United States might have a larger economy, but the median Canadian is 23% richer than the median American, a fact that surprises many. But it's because we take care of each other, through universal health care, through humane social supports, frankly, just out of a desire to do right by each other. And no one takes care of each other better than Westerners. We look after each other. Newfoundlanders are there for Albertans during wildfires. British Columbians there for Quebecers during ice storms. If you want an economic argument, Canada gives Alberta access to one of the most valuable things any society can possess, a large, stable, rules-based economic union. No internal borders, checkpoints, no customs houses, no currency risk, no uncertainty over citizenship, pensions, banking systems, supply chains, or trade relationships. And we're a country that has a trade agreement with every other G7 nation, something no other G7 nation can say, and something that exists because of a reputation we hold internationally, of which Canadians are rightly proud. If you want a social argument, we've created a country that has such an emotional pull and means so much, both here and abroad, that people in other countries have been known to pretend to be Canadians. Objectively measured, Canada always tops charts of global reputation. We celebrate together. The Golden Goal, Jeremy Hansen orbiting the moon. We mourn together. Terry Fox falling short on his run. The shooting in Tumbler Ridge. Canadians, including Albertans, have died under our flag, defending our values across the globe. Because Canadians show up. We're one people with a shared story that goes back centuries and is ever growing. Why would we give that up? To be a smaller, more insular country? To jeopardize our economy by landlocking ourselves? To divorce ourselves from our family? To limit our ability to travel? To remove the pride that comes with being associated with this great project? There are many arguments for separation you're going to hear put forward. Many, frankly, absurd, such as the idea it would be easier somehow to get a pipeline to the coast if the coast were not ours. Encourage critical thinking and be critical yourself. And to those you run into who might think separatism creates leverage, I'd encourage you to tell them two things. First, the Bank of Montreal is headquartered in Toronto for a reason. This is a dangerous game. Second, don't bet or bluff with something you can't afford to lose. Canada isn't perfect, and as a Westerner, I'm very familiar with the frustration that comes from being part of a confederation that doesn't always seem to fully value what we bring or fully understand our unique culture. But there is no grievance with the rest of Canada that would justify destroying Canada. We live in the greatest country on earth, an imperfect one, but one that is always improving, and one in which Alberta has never been more central. Our Prime Minister is an Albertan. Our Leader of the Opposition is an Albertan. We set national agendas. It's always a good time to be a proud Canadian, but it's an important time to be one over the next 150 days. If you run into a separatist, if you run into someone who sees it as a tool of leverage, I ask you to do this. Say I'm not with you. Firmly but politely. Explain what this country means to you. Explain what it means to lose that country, what it would mean to your family, to our economy, to our sense of identity. Be thoughtful. Ask if other ways their concerns would be better resolved. Ask if their solution resolves their concerns at all. Take in their arguments, provide your own. Be proud. The next 150 days will not be easy, and I lament we have to have this conversation. It's a conversation nobody voted to have, a conversation driven by interests that cannot win political office, but are now hijacking our political discourse. But as Albertans and as proud Canadians, it's a conversation on us now. Let's make sure we face it with the best of Canadian attributes. Positivity, thoughtfulness, compassion. But toughness. Clear-eyed. Get involved. Show up. The world bends to the will of those who show up. Those who would take this country apart know that. Let's show them we know it too.
And that was Corey Hogan. Going to take another short break. Then we're going to do the Truth Social Scroll. And I've got Chrystia Freeland back in the spotlight and under attack. Stay with me.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay. Truth Social Scroll time. Memorial Day. Well, let's see how the president is behaving, shall we? Okay, get it up on the screen. Here's Donald Trump's Truth Social page. Trump's America in 2026. Oh, a white picket fence. Media is all about cliches. Save America Act. Happy Memorial Day. He posts there 21 minutes ago. And I think it's important to acknowledge tonight the 13 Americans who lost their lives in the war with Iran. Ambassador Sergio Gore, President Trump called me tonight. He had a clear message. I love Prime Minister Modi. We've never been closer to India. I'm a big, big fan of Prime Minister Modi. And this is a happy birthday 250 event. And I think that Trump speaks over the phone on this.
All right, before I give my speech, I just got a call from a special guest who's on the line. Can you hear us, Mr. President?
I can hear you. I love India. So I know you're there, and I hope you make a good speech. You have to be representative of our country, Sergio. But I just want to say hello to everybody. I love the Prime Minister. Modi is great. He's my friend. And I just want to say a very, very good evening to everybody. It's morning here and it's evening there. And I just want to say you're great. And we've never been closer to India. And India can count on me 100% and our country. If they ever need help, they know where to call. They call right here. We're doing well. We're setting records. We have a record economy, a record stock market. And anything India wants to get, and I'm a big, big fan of Prime Minister Modi.
Thank you, sir. Marco Rubio's here. Any advice for a great Secretary of State?
Well, Marco's the greatest. I'll tell you, he's going down as the greatest Secretary of State in the history of the U.S. And it's good. Well, you have some big ones there. When you have Marco, Sergio, when you have Marco, you're getting the big stuff.
It's big.
That's very good. Well, Marco, go have a good time. I know you're going to represent us well. And everybody enjoy your evening. And it's an honor to talk and say hello to Prime Minister Modi. And let him know I'm a big fan.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.
We had a little bit of a glitch there. Are we back live? Yes, we're okay. We're live. Just a bit of a hiccup. I just better make sure that we're still functioning here properly. I think we're okay. Yeah. I am going to go to a transition here again briefly because I lost my feed back to myself. So I need to kind of reconfigure. I'll be right back momentarily.
We are the Mavericks. Welcome to the Matrix, baby. Hope you like the view. We are the Mavericks. The world is watching. We are the Mavericks.
Yeah, let's continue the Truth Social scroll. I'm interested to see what he's saying tonight about Memorial Day here. He's posting this one. Did that flip to a different tab on us? It did. I'll bring it up over here then. There you go. Don't forget the one who funded Iran and caused this war to happen. Obama! What? Obama caused this war? I don't think so. No, not gonna work on me. No, nice try. No. Let's pull that one down. We'll go back over here. Yeah, blame game. We are in good hands, he's posting here tonight. What is that? Is that even appropriate on Memorial Day to post that? For him to repost it? He should be paying tribute to the veterans, not to himself and his administration. That's my view. Two worst presidents in history, Obama and Biden. And this was 12 hours ago. Negotiations with the Islamic Republic of Iran are proceeding nicely. And I highlighted this actually, I think last night, didn't I? Yes. And he's making note of all of the other Gulf states and saying they should all be required to sign the Abraham Accords in order to bring about peace. Also today, he said this, he just can't, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. He deserves to be called out on this because this is Memorial Day. And he just can't get through any kind of ceremony where there's any kind of compassion required or sensitivity without just putting his foot in his mouth. I don't know.
I have to say, Miriam, I watched Sheldon sitting. I have to say, Miriam.
This is about giving the equivalent, the citizens equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor.
I have to say, Miriam, I watched Sheldon sitting so proud in the White House when we gave Miriam the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman. It's right. And they're rated equal. I have to say, Miriam.
That's just weird. It's like, oh, she got a much better deal because she didn't get shot. She got her medal. Much better. That's freaking weird. He's a weird guy. Here's another clip from today. Bring it up. Trump, Memorial Day.
Less than 6 weeks from now, our nation will reach a historic milestone, 250 years of majestic American independence, something. But it's only right that first we remember the immense sacrifice that has been brought to us and this momentous anniversary year. That's what it is. It's a momentous year. Before we hail the founding, we honor the fallen. Before we celebrate the triumph, we pay the tribute. Before we crown the victory, we count the cost. Today we are reminded that there could be no 4th of July without America's armed forces, and there could be no Independence Day without Memorial Day. We owe our liberty, our self-government, the glories of our history, and our very nation itself to the generations who paid for it with everything they had, the ultimate sacrifice.
Well, he did better there, reading off the prompter, sticking to the script. Okay, another short break. I've got lots more, so hang around.
Maverick News. Expose lies and tell truth. The world is watching.
Chrystia Freeland, no longer with the government directly. She's under fire here at this, I think it's a Canada Land event, and she's talking about a book she wrote. Anyway, this clip going viral because somebody came in and, well, did one of these political interventions.
Thousands murdered because of you. How many children have you orphaned? You monster. You Zionist Nazi dog. And I see you up there, Jesse. You're disgusting. You're disgusting. You're a monster. What do you have to say for yourself, you animal? You disgusting animal. You're a fucking Nazi, bitch of Freeland. You're the butcher of Gaza. Those souls will haunt you for the rest of your life. You animal. And you go around with a book deal? You making money off of genocide? You disgusting dog. You disgusting animal. Who do you think you are? Robbing people of their money, of taxpayer money, to fund Nazis. You're disgusting. They should haunt you for the rest of your life. You disgusting animal. Zionist dog.
You know, Canada and the government, just so you know, has suspended funding for weapons purchases for Israel. Just letting you know. I still see the people in the streets protesting, and I don't think it's complete, but they've dialed it right back. It's there's not supposed to be any money going there anymore for lethal aid. And Netanyahu, as I understand it, is so upset he won't even talk to the prime minister. So that's the information that's out there. And that has been in place, I think, since January of 2024. No new export permits for items that could be used in the Gaza conflict. And that was in place before a non-binding House of Commons motion that took place back in 24. So, make of it what you will. I don't know. I'm not a fan of those interventions. I don't like those things. Also, I remember, and you may as well, that incident out in Western Canada some years ago with Mr. Moose, who went in and confronted Chrystia Freeland, shouting, screaming. And we interviewed Moose on the program. And I said, I personally would never do something like that. I don't think it's appropriate, but he had the right to do it. And I guess this person also has the right to do that to a point, but got kicked out because he was on private property at technically a private event. So when you're asked to leave, you have to leave, or you could be charged with trespassing. And thankfully, no violence or anything there, but she's shaken up again. I'll tell you, it doesn't matter what party you're with, what your political stripe is. It's a tough gig being a politician and potentially dangerous, as you've seen with President Trump, who's been shot at multiple times. Some people spinning up conspiracy theories on that front too. Some of them seem pretty plausible, honestly, but I don't know what to make of all of that stuff. That's fake. This is not. This is real. Whatever. It is what it is, as they say, right? Whatever that even means. A lot of doublespeak. Christian Freeland, I'm going to dip into the chat here for a moment and just look. Yeah, I think, did we run an old clip of Trump? That clip wasn't today. Which one was that? The first one? Anyway. Just pumping in here. Dragon, referendum is one clear question. Well, it's a referendum on a referendum. It's a referendum on whether we should have a referendum. Uh-huh. Yeah, I agree with you, Dragon, about the illegal coup. Yeah, I think that's largely what's going on here. A lot of foreign influence, especially on that pipeline. There's so many games being played. The problem with these people is they want a perfect little utopia, but they'll never get, because that's the pipe dream. Nothing's ever perfect. But it's about as perfect as it gets, right? What else do we have here? Scroll down. Vicky says she deserved everything the guy said. It's not like it's not true. Well, I don't know, Vicky. Is it not true? Is it true? Like, I don't know. It's a very sensitive issue. I'm just telling you, Canada doesn't send arms to Israel to use in Gaza. So, the first clip. I thought there was something odd about it because the background was different, but thanks for clarifying that. So the first clip was an old one of Trump. And I do want to know about truth. So tell me, is Chrystia Freeland a butcher of Gaza? I guess it depends on your views. I'm not seeing anything come in. Might be a delay. Well, maybe I'll check back in the chat later. So what's this? There's a post up here about Brookfield. Brookfield? Are we talking about the housing project announced earlier today? I don't know. There's no evidence of any, if this is what it's about, I'm just scanning quickly. If it's, if someone's saying that Mark Carney and Brookfield have money in that housing project in Ottawa, you show me the proof. Go get me the receipts. Because I don't know if there's any evidence in that. It's a nonprofit. That's a government-run affordable housing project is what that one is. So you show me the Brookfield connection to that. It's a conspiracy, apparently. Okay, a lot of conspiracies whirling around the Pope tonight. What's something coming in? Oh, data centers. I don't know. It's possible. Like the thing with any of these, like BlackRock, Brookfield, they're investment management firms. So these companies have assets in just about everything. They have assets in each other. They manage portfolios for clients, and including a lot of retirement funds. So they have their fingers into like just about everything, but it's not like direct ownership in most cases, although they do have some direct investments. But in terms of like a direct investment in any of this stuff, no, not true. Brookfield owns or has a direct stake in a modular home company in Canada, like to build these tiny homes. But I've seen those claims as well. And when I've looked into it, I don't see any evidence that they're actually getting contracts at this point for any of the housing initiatives that Carney has been talking about thus far. So a lot of this stuff is exaggerated and in some cases just straight up fabrication. But you show me something that is worthy of attention because it is in some way corrupt, and I will be happy to run it and eager to do so, because politicians should be held accountable for any kind of corruption or misuse of the public purse. And that goes for Donald Trump and the White House as well. And there's been a hell of a lot of that going on over there, but people just turning a blind eye to all of it. Did you get your Trump phone yet? Just asking. Vicky says, from everything I have seen and heard about her, further part of the Vote for Emergencies Act. I don't know what that means. Anyway, everybody's still living in the convoy, right? And understandably so. It was a horrific time. But let's move on for the moment, shall we, to the Pope. Because tonight, the Pope making a speech on artificial intelligence. This is a landmark speech. It was a major address on the future of technology and humanity. Pope Leo XIV issued his first address on this, calling for urgent global action to rein in artificial intelligence. How can that be, Rick? I thought he just ate babies and stuff. Well, I thought he wanted to turn us all into AI zombies in another dimension. Jerry, believe what you want, I guess, but tonight this doesn't really mesh with that. So this was an address titled Magnifica Humanitas, or Magnificent Humanity. And it's a lengthy document. I speed read it this afternoon. I tried to absorb as much of it as I could. I think it's about 170 pages. So it was released actually yesterday at the Vatican. And in it, the Pope warns that unchecked AI development risks creating new forms of digital slavery, mass unemployment, and even autonomous weapons that could spiral beyond human control. It seems to me like he's warning us, saying, better stop for a moment, pause on this, give it some thought. So he writes in this thing that artificial intelligence lacks conscience, empathy, or true moral judgment, and must always remain a tool that serves human dignity rather than replacing or dominating it. And the Pope urges governments worldwide to slow the breakneck pace of AI progress, impose strict regulations, and protect workers and societies from its potential harms. While he has been talking about this, at the same time, I have seen multiple posts from people involved in the AI industry directly in the last 2 days, making similar kinds of, issuing similar kinds of warnings. So, I don't know. Maybe I do know. I've been saying very much the same thing. These guys who are fueling the artificial intelligence revolution, in the chat there, making reference to AI, Brookfield's probably involved. Whatever. The Pope is saying we got to be careful about this stuff.
Artificial intelligence needs to be disarmed. The word is strong, I know, but deliberately chosen because this moment needs words capable of attracting attention, awakening consciences, and indicating paths forward for humanity. The Church has long been working for nuclear disarmament, aware that every great technical power can affect people's lives, and so must be accompanied by adequate moral discernment and public control. Nuclear disarmament remains a service to peace and the dignity of the human family. In a similar sense, artificial intelligence now demands to be disarmed, freed from logics that turn it into an instrument of domination, exclusion, and death. Like nuclear energy, it must be at the service of all and of the common good.
Mm-hmm. But we're rushing headlong into it. Beware those who would divert your attention and flip your reality upside down so that those trying to save us are demonized and blamed for the very things that they're trying to save us from. Here's the actual text of the full address. In fact, I should probably put a link to it in the chat. I will. So you can read it for yourself in full, all of it. You can probably find the full video online too. I just have the clips queued up. I tried to read this tonight. Go over here and I'll put it in the chat on the main Rumble channel. There you go. Because what he is saying here is that we need to make sure we preserve humanity. He's highlighting the very concerns that I keep hearing over here. Why do I feel like I have to defend the Pope? Because I know what some people are going to say. No, he's an evil whatever. And he wants to kill us all. Well, that's not what he's saying. He's talking about right here, remaining human. In the recent ordinary Jubilee year of 2025, we walked as pilgrims of hope, he says, and were blessed with many graces. Strengthened by these gifts, we can move forward with confidence to face the arduous tasks and demanding challenges that lie ahead. In the era of artificial intelligence, when human dignity is threatened by new forms of dehumanization, ours is the pressing duty to remain profoundly human. We must lovingly safeguard the grandeur of humanity bestowed upon us and revealed in its fullness in Christ, the splendor of which no machine can ever replace. True progress always stems from a heart open to others and intelligence willing to listen, and a will that seeks what unites rather than what separates. Right there. Right in the introduction. Right before chapter 1. So if you go there, you can read that. There are many other passages in here that are well worth reading, I think, and it is a serious warning, which I am certain will not get the level of attention or consideration that it truly deserves. Not among the masses. And there will certainly be efforts to redirect your attention and to confuse. I'm seeing it happening online already tonight, with people flipping this upside down, right on its head. Call me naive, but I believe him.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Let's go to CNN and see if they're talking about the Pope eating babies. They commented on this. Go.
How extraordinary is this moment? It is true that this Pope follows by about 135 years his predecessor Pope, Leo XIII, talking about the dangers to humanity of the great social change that came from the Industrial Revolution. How does this stack up?
Well, first of all, it's not around 135 years. It's exactly the anniversary was the day that he signed it. So it was very deliberately on the anniversary. And I think what is very remarkable is that Pope Leo XIII issued his call for the protection of human dignity without real dialogue with those who were imperiling that dignity. Whereas this time, Pope Leo is issuing the warnings in dialogue with those who are responsible for AI. I think this is an extraordinary step forward.
And it absolutely has, gripped everybody's imagination. We'll ask you both about the whole, rollout with Anthropic. But let me ask you, Anna Rowlands, the Pope called on artificial intelligence to be disarmed. Can you tell me what that means?
Yes, so this is a kind of key phrase that runs through the whole of the document. Pope Leo feels that we're in a moment, I think, where human beings are beginning to indulge in the idea that we're fundamentally violent or conflictual by nature, rather than creatures who seek peace and seek to live in unity, ideally with others. And he's worried that we're kind of swallowing that storyline. And he thinks that when you begin to imagine the world in that way and think of human society and human relationships through a fundamental lens of violence and conflict, what happens is you begin almost an arms race, and that's with your words, that's with your politics, and that also in a very literal way drives the conflict between nations. So he wants to move from what he calls a culture of power, in which in effect he thinks we are violent and polarized, to one which is focused on a civilization of love. And the only way you get there is to disarm in all senses of the word.
Okay. Yeah, there is admittedly something kind of twisted and weird about what happened with the Pope, because there was some involvement at this whole thing with Anthropics. Christopher Olah, I guess, a co-founder of Anthropic, he was present at the Vatican launch of this AI thing, and church officials described his participation as an ongoing dialogue between faith leaders and responsible voices in the tech industry. So the Pope's address has sparked a widespread discussion online. Many people praising the Pope's call for ethical guardrails, others already spinning wilder theories, including jokes tying the story to simulation hypotheses and secret tech church deals. Sources at the Vatican telling media that the focus remains squarely on protecting the human person in the age of intelligent machines, and warning against integrating with them, becoming one with them. And there are people out there right now who are eager to do so. You know it. They're talking about it online. There are many videos. But Pope Leo's message is clear. Technology must serve humanity, not the other way around. And there's going to be a lot more to be said about this, for sure. As we're just getting started. Also, new warnings just in the last day on, the stories I'm seeing that are warning that massive numbers of jobs will be disrupted and replaced by artificial intelligence. It's happening at an exponential rate. Just think of where we were a year ago, 2 years ago. A lot of the technology available to people, not anywhere near what we have now. You can make movies and all these memes that came out from the shooting just over the weekend near the White House, not at the White House. And that NBC reporter getting the meme treatment. Here. Oh, did you see Stephen Colbert? He was on Monroe Community Access Television the day after his ousting, after he lost his gig online. Here's the meme that caught my attention first again, of the reporter at the scene or near the scene of the shooting. I think they're hilarious. I could watch them all day. In fact, I have, because they keep popping up in my feed. Okay, short break. One more thing I need to share with you at the end of the, I don't need to. I'll just go straight to it. Okay, so see if I can cue it up. So regardless of what side you might be on, if you're on a side at all, with regard to this war between Russia and Ukraine, it's tragic. It's tragic on the Russian side. It's tragic on the Ukrainian side. I don't like to see any of it. That's not a cop-out. It's just ordinary, everyday people who suffer through these things. But people are always resilient. So is the case in Ukraine and Kyiv as these attacks continue tonight, with Vladimir Putin vowing to destroy all of Kyiv. And we brought you footage yesterday of the Ukrainian opera house that was damaged in one of the drone strikes, also called the Kyiv Opera or Kyiv Municipal Academic Opera and Ballet Theater for Children and Youth. There's a mouthful. Anyway, there was this massive combined Russian missile and drone attack. The opera house attacked, damaged. We showed you the damage. We also showed you the people from the opera house and people from the community going in to clean up the broken glass and get the place kind of straightened away as much as they could. And a lot of the cultural institutions also damaged in the city overnight. Well, I can tell you that the performers are back on track already, determined that they're going to proceed with their most recent, their current production of Jesus Christ Superstar. 72 broken windows, a hole in the roof, full of glass and debris. But they put a team together. They went in there. They went to work. And they've resumed work and held the second round of casting for the production for the rock opera Jesus Christ Superstar. And with that, I'm going to leave you tonight with this performance from one of the people hoping to become part of the Jesus Christ Superstar cast. And maybe, just maybe through the arts and music, we can bring people a little closer together and get a little closer, not just to the truth tonight, but peace. See you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. On the flip side. Sorry, we've lost the audio, so it seems. Why no audio? Let me pull back, get it running for you, if I can.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.